Sony State of Play gets an A. And here's why. Here's why. How I feel about watching these video game showcases, I'll admit, has changed as I've come to terms with the reality that I'm more of a vicarious goat. That is, a vicarious gamer of all tags. Which means that I'll play a Nintendo platform, I'll play a Sony platform, I'll play a PC platform. It doesn't really, I'm platform agnostic, as it were. And I understand there's a privilege that comes with that. So instead of rating the showcase solely on its exclusive titles, I want to come at this with a bit more nuance. Such as, take number one. Feels like Sony has finally embraced PC. While I can't attest to the quality of the reports, and I know they've had a bit of a PR backlash for forcing people to be using a PlayStation sign-in, but it feels now more than ever that they have a bit of an understanding with putting their first-party games out into the world. And I think PC is kind of this fair in-between ecosystem because it has multiple storefronts on it, and it doesn't feel like it is going to forever stay in Microsoft's grasp as we have the Steam OS launching in a proper desktop format in the coming months, presumably after the Steam machine is released, which I understand that got a bit of a delay, but I'm not going to talk about that right now. Sony treating their IP as something that is exclusive for a limited time, I think they're finally starting to get into the swing of PC. There's still a ways to go. Personally, I'd love a bit of a cross-buy initiative, but for now, it's okay. Takeaway number two, Project Windless has a chicken man. So like Black Myth Wukong, there's this game that has a martial artist warrior as your protagonist who is essentially a humanoid chicken. I get a look at its face as it's about to destroy anything that walks in its path, and it's just so silly that it piques my interest because it takes itself so seriously. And I don't know, maybe it's because chickens are the punchline to any type of joke that involves masculinity. And maybe that's the whole point of this chicken man in this game called Project Windless, which I assume is a tentative title. I sure hope it's not going to be like Triangle Strategy. Take number three, Metal Gear Solid 4 has finally escaped the PlayStation 3. Clearly, a lot of resources were put into getting Metal Gear Solid 4 into a multi-platform state because it was developed exclusively for PlayStation 3 and its cell processor architecture, and now that it is available, people don't have to rely on only playing it on aged hardware or streaming it on PlayStation Plus, which apparently you can't do anymore anyways. For some strange reason, the PS3 streaming is down. Or emulating it, which will always give you mixed results because it is a very demanding game. And so is emulating PlayStation 3 in general. Yeah, would have liked to wedge another game into the Volume 2, but I get that, you know, most of those games that are in Volume 1 are also ports from games from the 80s and 90s, so I'm not too upset. I'm more happy that Metal Gear Solid 4, Guns of the Patriots, is getting its flowers. Take number four. I probably won't play most of these, but that's not Sony's fault. This is a disposable industry, let's not forget. And while I see a bunch of these games that look really cool, there's not enough time in the day or in my life to play many of these titles. That doesn't change the fact that there's some good lookers. So I'm going to rank them all in the following categories. We'll start with the bottom category. Games I think are meh. Moving on, games I think are cool, but I know I won't play. Death Stranding 2, first and foremost. Love that game. Almost done platinuming it. I'm certainly not going to start that all over again on the PC, at least not anytime in the near future, but, you know, we'll see. Probably not. Kenya, Scars of Cosmora, looks cool. Haven't played the first one, so I doubt I'll ever play this one until I get through that. Ghosts of Yotei Legends also looks cool. However, haven't played Ghosts of Yotei, and also haven't played the Ghost of Tsushima Legends, so probably won't ever touch that. For Loop, I like the idea of them 3D printing your bodies if you die to bring you back in the game. It's a fun approach to making a gaming trope more diegetic. but I'm still not going to play it. Beast of Reincarnation. It looks cool. I'm more so curious to see how this performs and if Game Freak has another multi-title IP on their hands, because maybe it'll put Pokemon out of this comfort chokehold that they've put themselves in. This, whatever. Anyways, 007 First Light. It looks fine. I haven't played a 007 game since the GameCube, since Nightfire. No, that's not true. I played GoldenEye Rogue Agent, which was fun. Got a little wacky. Since then, I've kind of like fallen off the 007 bandwagon, and just like this and the next title, John Wick, they're gonna get a lot of people playing them, and I love that for those titles. It's just not doing it for me. Neva Prologue. They advertised this game as a complete title a year or two back, unless I'm mistaking this with another game, because I think it's from the same publishers who made Gris. It's cool, and I hope it great success. The next category, games I think are cool and would consider playing. The Metal Gear Solid Master 2 Collection. Think about it. I already have MGS4 and Peace Walker on PS3, so I don't really need those again, but Ghost Babel seems cool. Silent Hill Townfall. It seems interesting. I like the seaside town aesthetic. Even though I've never played a Silent Hill game through and through, it's been on my radar. I just got to start with the newest thing and work my way into it. Marathon has a very curious marketing strategy, but it is also a first-person shooter at the end of the day, so I don't really know how much that's really going to translate into the vibes that I'm enjoying from the marketing. So that is yet to be seen. Big Walk. Apparently, it's going to be out on PlayStation Essentials when it does come out, which is cool. It does look like a fun little game, and if it's already going to be in my catalog, I'm more compelled to give it a shot than anything. Project Windless. That Chicken Man is on my radar. And God of War Trilogy Remake. Finally, we're getting a remake to these things, and it would allow me to play everything on the PS5. However, I do already have God of War 3 on PS4, and I just picked up God of War 1 and 2, the bundle for the PS3. So I don't know if I'm willing to wait this long, but we'll see. On to the next group. Games I think are cool and will most likely play. Pragmata. I haven't touched the demo. I do need to try it. I have it installed. It looks really cool. I like the idea of puzzle solving while trying to shoot robots that are otherwise impervious to your weapons. Resident Evil Requiem. It's got my boy Leon. If it plays half as good as the Resident Evil 4 remake, I'm gonna be in for a wonderful show. However, I do need to play through 7 and I need to start 8. I have both of those already, so I'm gonna get to it. Star Wars Galactic Racer looks so fucking dope. And I'm glad that even though they have pod racers, it's not exclusive to pod racing. So maybe there's different tiers of vehicles that race in certain things, or maybe they all just come together and it's all just dependent on the tracks where you're at, but it looks so cool and I can't wait to play it. Yako Shinobi Ops seems like a very fun stealth tactical type game, and it's got ninjas and it's got samurai. And then there's the final category, games I think are cool and will play on day one. Control Resonant. Yes, I am playing it partially because it's now tied to the Alan Wake continuity. However, Control was really fun. There were moments of frustration of getting lost and all, but like, I really did enjoy the design, the world, the premise, the gameplay, these surreal multi-layer projections of live action footage over me. I know Alan Wake 2 also did it really well, but this was something that Control accomplished first, and the gameplay and the trailers for Control 2 Resonant look sick. And that's all the game. So I would say it was a good haul of titles, which brings me to my last take. I completely forgot about the Nintendo Direct. Here's the thing. As someone who doesn't own a Nintendo Switch 2, a showcase of third-party games that I can get elsewhere just isn't gonna cut it. In fact, it's the very reason I previously rated Sony State of Plays prior to owning a PS5, because at their core, these showcases are plugging their hardware. But at this time, the only thing that I would consider playing on Nintendo Switch 2 is Donkey Kong Bonanza, whereas with Sony, out of their 34 games that they showcased here, 11 of them are console exclusives, meaning only for PS5, maybe PS4, but also PC. But I think there's a record here as well where they're Sony exclusives that currently are only going to be on PS5 maybe also PS4. I think it's as high as 9, which is the reason I'm giving this showcase an A. And that's gonna do it. Thank you for watching. Have a good one. Bye.